Welcome, everyone, to Talia Tuesday on the Blueprint Podcast, where we dive deep into the realms of confidence and assertiveness with our co-host, Talia Bombola. As a licensed marriage and family therapist and specialist in confidence and assertiveness, Talia brings a wealth of expertise and insights to our discussions. Join us each Tuesday as we explore practical strategies, personal anecdotes, and empowering advice to help you cultivate the confidence and assertiveness you need to thrive in all aspects of life. Get ready to unlock your full potential and build the life you desire with Talia and Jason as your guides. Talia, welcome to Talia Tuesday. I don't know if I can keep saying welcome to the Blueprint Podcast, welcome to Talia Tuesday. We'll have to figure out a way to actually enter into these episodes as an intro.
Okay. We'll probably get it in a year or so.
Yeah, and you get to say how excited you are to be here.
No, I'm actually, I'm not excited to be here. I'm kidding. I am. That's the podcast pleasantry. Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So excited to be here. Thank you.
We can't wait.
Yeah. I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Don't know how I feel about that.
I'm pleasantly surprised to be here. I don't know.
Anyway, welcome to your day on the show.
My own day. Yay.
You do get your own day, and I think people need to tune in. It's super valuable. And if you have a friend out there that's struggling with some of this stuff, we're going to be tackling a lot of the comments and questions that you have. You can submit questions via my Stan store where it says submit a podcast, but you might have to scroll through some stuff down to the bottom to be able to access that and submit your question. It's not a guarantee that we're going to answer it, but we might use some information out of that question to help some other people. So today, and this is a good one. This came from the comment section on Instagram, and it starts out a little hostile.
A little.
And
you have unhinged.
So we say that, but this is the power of social media.
Yep.
And we really have to think about the way that we interact with content. I made a post the other day, what you consume consumes you. And so we've put ourselves in this position to take on all this information, and you can feel a little bit overwhelmed or overstimulated by it. And we often take a lot of things as, well, this is 100% truth. We have this binary thinking. It's either this or that. And that's not always the case, especially when we dive into relationships, interpersonal relationships, how we relate to other people, how we interact in the world and our place in it. And it can get really confusing and convoluted because of that. So when you start out responding to somebody else's post, right? So it's my post, somebody commented, and now this person is commenting on their comment. And it goes, I think I replied to this, but I can't tell because apparently you don't allow anyone to tag you. K.
Period.
Yeah, period.
That's my favorite part of this whole K, period.
Period. Single letter. K. Period. My ex told me from day one that she was a secure attachment style. Can we stop right there for a second? When people say that they're a secure attachment style, I always feel like that's the setup to them not having a secure attachment style.
Would you need to say it if you really were? You know?
No, and really, if you're a secure attachment and that's your family of origin, it's
Right.
not something that you're going to be boastful about that I'm a secure attachment.
And most people don't, I will say as a therapist, most people who are don't necessarily know that they are, because then
Right.
they talk to somebody who is insecure and they're like, oh, yeah, I don't struggle with that. I don't think people are going to leave me and I don't feel uncomfortable being close. Like, interesting. Like, most of the time when you talk to somebody who really has either from childhood or earned/learned secure attachment in adulthood,
Yeah.
they're not like boastful about it. They might, obviously, if you're sharing about it, but it's usually the insecurely attached person who's leading the conversation as a way to like, well, I want to make sure I'm not dating somebody insecure. So what's your attachment style? And they send them the quiz and the person takes it. They're like, oh, okay, now it's safe to proceed. So we shall see.
Oh my goodness. She was 100% an avoidant though. Shocker.
He tested her probably.
Yeah.
100%. No room for error.
He definitely sent Priority Mail, the book attached, so that she could educate herself and fix herself.
Yes.
Because she's an avoidant.
So we can finally be together.
Yes. Yeah, because, and this happened this morning where somebody was wanting me to demonize the avoidant attachment. And I'm not going to do that. That's not what I'm here to do. If you don't have a secure attachment, then you have an insecure attachment. And then we all have some work to do. And
Yeah.
what we like to do is make it a competition that, oh, I'm an anxious attacher, so I'm way better off than the avoidant is. And the avoidant is hurtful to everybody. And da da da. And that's, again, not necessarily the case. And you really haven't taken a very close look at how you relate to other people and how you make them feel. It's not like you're going out and putting out a Google survey for everybody to, how do I treat you? How,
Yeah, right.
what does that look like?
Yeah, true.
So it's based off of your own perception, which is going to be a little bit skewed.
For sure.
So she was 100% an avoidant, would rather get high than have a deep conversation, would rather be mean than be vulnerable, would rather blame me than take responsibility. So, no, I don't date avoidance anymore. And then it goes on IDGAF, how vulnerable your type feels. You have a responsibility to not take it out on others, especially your partner. That will ruin the relationship. How does that make you feel? What does that bring up for you,
Okay,
Talia?
so the last part, the having a responsibility to not take it, this is not operationally defined in this case, it, on others, especially your partner. Yeah, that will ruin the relationship. If you have stuff, clinical term, that you
Yeah,
haven't worked through, that you're lashing out at your partner, projecting onto them, expecting them to heal it, in most cases, that will ruin the relationship. So that piece, like, I agree with, I would say conceptually. Previous to that, though, the listing of those that's not necessarily attachment style. Would rather get high than a deep conversation. Okay, that she could have a substance use problem. She could also enjoy getting high. Who knows? Would rather blame than take responsibility. That sounds more like emotional immaturity than an attachment style problem. I think people don't understand that it's not this catch-all term, just like everybody's ex is not a narcissist just because they didn't like you or they whatever. Avoided attachment in and of itself is about the connection when closeness and intimacy enters into your life and how it makes you feel or what it prompts you to do or not do because of how comfortable or uncomfortable you are with it. That is separate from emotional maturity or immaturity. That is separate from knowing how to have a deep conversation. Like, I think doing like a Venn diagram, sometimes they overlap, but sometimes they don't. So I would lump
you
all of these
you
because
really went there with the Venn diagram, huh?
I had to throw it in there.
I love it.
Some things overlap and some things don't, and not all of
Right,
those things are indicative of an avoided attachment. That could also just be, I don't want you to get to know me because I have trust issues. That's separate from avoidant attachment. That could be a whole other ballgame. I don't
right.
know this woman he's referring to, and it's not up to you to diagnose. Like, also, attachment disorder is not in the DSM that we use. Insecure attachment is not in the book at all. We have like
Right.
childhood attachment disorders, but that's not what this person is talking about.
And the other thing that's going on here with those statements is that there are things and behavior that you're admitting that you don't like.
Mhm.
And so that's something inside of you that now you have disdain towards, and you're using that in this moment. You already don't like it. It's already a part of you. You've already probably said it out loud to this person. And if you haven't, you've been holding it back behind a wall. And it's this barrier that you unleash when things aren't going well, when they're not going in your favor, when you
Right.
don't get what you expect to have happen within the container of this relationship. So a part of you really needs to cue here, huh?
I love Chloe though.
I love her too, but a couple seconds of this is fine. But it's like
It's not that bad. I just have a dog, so I'm used to it.
when we go into 40 seconds on the podcast, I don't think people are gonna want to hear that.
People
I
tune
don't
it
know.
out. We'll be
I,
good.
I forgot what I was saying.
You were saying that he was like accusing he wasn't taking accountability. I'm summarizing. He was accusing her of a lot of things
Yeah,
and
so it really comes down to there are behaviors that you don't appreciate about this person that you're also not admitting to yourself.
right,
It's almost subconscious to bring it up when something isn't going right, when the relationship doesn't meet your expectations. You know that if you bring this up or if you say it, it's somehow going to give you a sense of power over this person or this experience,
yeah,
and to make you feel empowered in this relationship. And really, you need to get to the place where does this bother you or does it not bother you? Because if it does bother you, then this probably isn't the person for you.
true.
And And if it doesn't bother you, then you really can't hang it over their head. That's manipulation. And you don't want to do that because you're just going to continue to cultivate this pattern that you already don't like and don't want to be in.
And it's so much work to try. It's a lot of work for an individual to change themselves when they actually want to change, and they're
Yeah.
like, "I need to work on this about myself." That's in and of itself a lot of work. It's even more work when you as a partner are trying to change, mostly fix, but change, improve. "I'm just doing it because it's the best thing for you. I'm trying to make it better for you." This person didn't ask you to, and if they did, that's called a therapist, and you shouldn't be dating your therapist.
Right.
Like, there has to be those boundaries of, if this person has voiced to you, "Hey, I just want you to know I'm working on being better at deep conversations and taking accountability. This is something I know about myself. It's something that comes up in relationships. Take it or leave it." Then you actually can consent differently to the relationship. But if you're nitpicking all of these different things that you don't like, why be with somebody that you are clearly not, obviously they're not together, but like, why be with somebody where you're already pinpointing, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that, and I'm not going to tell them so they can work on it. I'm not going to tell them the impact of their behavior so we could maybe work on it together. I'm just going to slowly, silently resent them, which everybody go back and listen to our other episode on resentment. It's not going to be a good relationship. And that part, like I said at the end, it will ruin the relationship because you're not being authentic and genuine. So you're not even giving that person a chance to get close to you the way that you want. So maybe you're the avoidant. Hmm.
Yeah. There's a portion of that, isn't there? If you hold back on the things that you want to say, you're being inauthentic to your goals, values, and standards that you have for a relationship with you. And in that is going to cultivate a ton of resentment towards this other person. But you don't say anything because if you do, then you have to bear a part of yourself to the other person. There's a level of vulnerability that you have to let
It's
them
ironic that he writes
into
about that.
yeah, your inner world. But then there's also that fear that you're going to be rejected once you give them this information. They're going
True.
to come back at you. They might lash out. And there's this uncertainty with how they're going to respond to that. So
Yeah.
it could be a lash out. They could just walk away from you, or they could leave the relationship completely, which that's just way too hard to bear in that process. So you say nothing
Mhm. Or you just comment about it on Instagram. So
and take it out on other people passive aggressively. This wasn't passive.
no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was actually very
Yeah.
aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
Aggressive, aggressive, not passive aggressive.
I guess for me, when it comes to, I don't know, you have to be in person. When I read comments, I don't look at them and go, "Oh my God, this hurts my feelings." Ah,
Mhm.
like I read them and I'm just like, wow, you're really going through it.
Oh, yeah, yes, and I've told you that whenever I read comments, now people don't comment because I put so many settings on it because I just couldn't handle it. Some of
Yeah.
them I'm like, "I'm a real person," right? Like, you can't just talk to people however you want with no repercussion. Okay, yeah. So my advice to this person who commented would be to go back and read your comment through the lens of, like, somebody saying this about you. I know that might not feel true, but that's the quickest way to catch if we're projecting or not taking our own accountability. So, is any part of this comment true of your own behavior, the not taking accountability, the avoiding vulnerability? And if so, that is something for you to look inward and work on yourself with hopefully a trained professional like a therapist, but doing some of your own inner work I think would be very beneficial so that you actually can get the kind of relationship you want. And if this type of person that you were just with isn't a good fit, you also are more likely to not be either attracted to or attractive to, if again that type of person isn't for you, you reduce the likelihood that you'll fall into this again if you go do the inner work. So I highly recommend going through, reading your comment, taking your own accountability and vulnerability, and I hope that you feel better.
Thank you all for tuning into today's episode of Talia Tuesday on the Blueprint Podcast with Talia Bombola. Remember, building confidence, self-love, and assertiveness is a journey, and each step you take brings you closer to your goals. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast for more insightful conversations and practical tips to support your personal growth, and head over to my Stand store to sign up for the 21-day self-love challenge on sale now. And you can also drop a question for Talia and I for the podcast. Until next time, keep embracing your strengths, asserting your boundaries, and living authentically. Take care, and we'll see you next Tuesday on the Blueprint Podcast.